Merry Christmas, everyone. 'Tis the season.
'Tis the season. Yeah, I mean, it is Christmas time, but honestly, sometimes the most wonderful time of the year can really be the most worrisome time of the year.
Yeah, so today we're going to discover the antidote to anxiety and find some peace during this holiday time.
It's going to be good. Let's get to it.
Hey everyone, welcome to Epic Everywhere, a church experience designed to help you grow in your faith no matter where you're at on your spiritual journey.
And Merry Christmas, everybody. Hey, we're so excited that you're here. A special welcome to everyone who's hanging out with us for the first time. My name's Emily. This is Justin. We get to be your host for today. And hey, if you are new, make sure that you stick around. We got something special coming up that's just for you. And do you hear what I hear?
What do you mean, that Christmas music?
The
playing?
Christmas music! Yeah. Hey, it's officially Christmas, so we can now listen to Christmas music.
So you're one of those holdouts, no Christmas stuff until after Thanksgiving?
Yes, I can't be the only one here. That is
Christmas
a firm line.
curmudgeon.
Not a Christmas curmudgeon. I just believe highly that we shouldn't be celebrating Christmas until after Thanksgiving.
All right, well, do you have a favorite album, favorite Christmas music?
One of my favorite albums is Sarah McLachlan. It is outstanding. It's on repeat all season long. No sad puppies, only Christmas bangers though, so definitely check it out.
I gotta go with the GOAT, the classic masterpiece, Mariah Carey's Merry Christmas.
Okay, that's good.
Favorite song on that album? Oh Holy Night. Go listen to that. She jumps like 20 octaves. Like I could do my own rendition if you'd like me to.
No,
like, oh Holy Night.
No, thank you though.
I got it. But hey, let us know what you're listening to this Christmas. Let us know in the comments your favorite album, favorite songs, or if you got any new stuff.
Oh, yeah.
We'd love to find out some new stuff.
Yeah, we'd love to hear what you have on repeat. And it is the Christmas season, so today we get to kick off a brand new season, a brand new series called White Elephant.
Yeah.
So White Elephant is really based around the game where you can go ahead and exchange your gift for a better gift. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and good news is we've got a ton of presents here. So guess what? We're gonna be doing our very own gift exchange. Hey, put it down. We didn't start yet. And good news is we are gonna involve each and every one of you. You have a chance to actually win one of these gifts. Yes, you. It's gonna be good.
So let me tell you how you can get one of these gifts. We're gonna randomly select from everybody who checks in today. So you gotta text in to check in. And wait, you hear those bells? That means it's time to check in.
Let's go.
All right, so everybody watching, here's what we're gonna do. Go ahead and grab your phone. We're gonna text in to check in. It's simple. Just text the word HERE, H-E-R-E, to the number on the screen, 215-999-8575. And we'll leave that number up for a minute so that you have an opportunity to text in.
Yeah, and when you text in, you guys get a shot at winning one of these presents. So make sure you do it. But if you are new, hey, we already got a present in the bag for you. We want to hook you up with a free Epic t-shirt. So when you text in for the first time, we got you already a gift for you just to say thanks for hanging out with us today.
And while you're finishing up texting in, there's actually a bunch of people who are going to be popping on, joining us from Epic Live. Epic Live is our IRL church experience happening all over the Philadelphia area. And so they'll be jumping in to find out about the stuff that we've got going on this Christmas season.
That's right. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We want to go ahead and give you a rundown of what is coming up to get you in the Christmas spirit.
All right. So this Saturday, December 11th, we have an epic hangout. We're taking over the River Rink.
Hey.
Yes. We're going to hang out for some ice skating, Christmas vibes, hot chocolate, and
everything.
Emily is going to be showing off her triple Lutz. Right?
That's right. No, I'm not. Not at all. I'm definitely going to be decked out in a whole bunch of bubble wrap, trying to get my Johnny Weir on. So watch out, everybody.
So find out all the information on our Instagram. That's Saturday. And then Sunday, December 12th, we've got Jingle Jam.
Yay.
A Jingle Jam is an event for elementary age kids and their families.
And their friends and their neighbors.
Everybody. The whole crew is invited to Jingle Jam. It's so much fun. It's got live acting and music and games and fun. And it's all happening December 12th, 6:30 p.m., hosted at our Northern Liberties location.
Okay.
Which, Emily, that's your location, right?
That is. What's up, Epic Northern Liberties? We're super excited to have everybody over for Jingle Jam. And we're also going to be hosting our Christmas at Epic services. Yes! It's going to be fantastic. We actually are doing services on 2 different days, December 22nd and December 24th.
Now, the 22nd, it's a Wednesday, right?
Yeah, it's a Wednesday. And so that's perfect. If you're heading out of town and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to miss out. We got you. We have a service happening on Wednesday evening just for you.
And then traditionally, Christmas Eve, we've got 2 opportunities.
Yeah, 2 opportunities to come hang out with us at 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock. So something for everybody. And hey, you need tickets to be able to attend so we can accommodate everybody. So make sure you head over. The tickets are absolutely free. Head over to epic.church for all the info.
Free tickets. As Emily said, everything is at our website, epic.church. And hey, it's during this time of the year, towards the end of the year, when we get to take a look back and we think about all that God has done through our church over the past year. We call it our year in review.
Yeah, this is going to be super special. You're going to love it. Our 2021 year in review. Check it out.
2021. For some, because of the pandemic, this year threatened to be an extension or repeat of the year before. But what could have been seen as an obstacle, we saw as an opportunity to evolve and take steps forward toward a new normal. So we hit record and went to work creating the very best online church experiences we possibly could. And at a time when it wasn't safe for people to come to church, we took church to people when and wherever they happened to be. With over 700 new subscribers and more than 100,000 views this year, we've seen that church doesn't have to be limited by buildings, borders, or time barriers. In fact, at Easter, we experienced the largest service in the history of our church with more than 6,800 people watching online. That's 6,800 men, women, and children hearing the message of hope and celebrating Jesus together. More people than we ever could have fit in our buildings. In Philadelphia, there's another pandemic that plagues our city: poverty. Nearly 1 in 4 Philadelphians live below the poverty line, which is a household of 4 living on less than $27,000 a year. And so while we may not have been able to meet in our buildings, so many of you went out to serve and care for our community. You packed and delivered boxes of food. You've cared for displaced families. You put smiles on the faces of our friends with special needs at our Night to Shine event. You fed the hungry, cared for the poor, and loved those who just needed a helping hand. In addition to your time, you've given your dollars. And together, because of your generosity, we were able to give away $60,000 to support our local community outreach partners and help them go further, faster. As restrictions began to lift, we set our regathering plan in motion, and after 17 long months, we had our first in-person gatherings. The halls were filled with people reuniting with old friends and more than ready to make new ones. It was clear that as much as we missed the buildings, what we really missed was each other. And so gathered in those hallways at Epic Live and in homes for Epic everywhere, gathered as friends around fire pits and as families just to have fun, we began doing what we do best: come together. In the face of adversity, we push through for the sake of unity. It's no wonder that when Jesus prayed for you and I, the one thing he prayed is that we would be one. See, it's our unity that speaks loudly in a world that's divided. It's our unity that calls us to give generously and love unconditionally. It's our unity around a common cause to see every person in the city know Jesus that compels us to do everything we can to hold open the door of faith that many have struggled to get through. And person after person, story after story, life after life, we've seen the difference knowing God and following him can make in a person's life. And all of that is possible because of what God has done through you, and you, and you, and you. You see, it really is true. Great churches aren't built on the talents of a few. Great churches are built on the sacrifices of many. Thank you for not giving up, for not losing heart, for not losing faith. Thank you for serving and caring and giving, and most of all, for loving God and doing your part to share his love with every person in the city. Together, we weathered the storm of 2020. Together, we began to rebuild in 2021. And together, I can't wait to see all God will do in 2022. Our future is bright, and the best is yet to come. Oh man, what a year. We have so much to be thankful for. And listen, every year around this time, we actually challenge and encourage our church to come together and give in our annual year-end offering. It's just a way to give thanks to God for his faithfulness in our life all year long, and a way to support our church so that we can continue to meet needs and make a difference in our city. And every year, I sit down with my wife, Tiffany, and we think about how God has been faithful to us over this past year. And then we think about all the ways that God has used the church to make a difference in so many other people's lives. And I gotta tell you, we can't wait to give generously. We're super excited about doing that. You see, just like you, we have a budget. Just like you, we have to live within our means. Just like you, things are a little tighter around this time of year than others, but we love giving in the year-end offering. And here's part of the reason why. It's because of what happens whenever we give. And number one, we know that whenever we give, like God's gonna provide for us because you can't outgive God. And number two, we know that whenever we give, like our giving is really gonna make a difference. It really is. Listen, there's no greater investment you can make than investing in the local church because it's the only thing that lasts on into eternity. It's the only thing that can really make a difference in a person's life for forever. And so Tiff and I, we give generously, one, because we're thankful, and two, because we really believe in what happens here. In 2 Corinthians chapter 9, the Apostle Paul talks about our giving. Here's what he says about it. He says, your generosity will result in thanksgiving to God. He says, hey, like you don't know it yet, but one day there's gonna be people who will give thanks to God because you gave. Do you get that? Like you might not ever know their name, but they're gonna give thanks to God because your giving made it possible for their heart to be changed by Jesus, or made it possible for their family to be changed, or their kids to be changed, or their marriage, or their relationships, or their career, or their thinking, or maybe even the whole trajectory of their life to be changed. And so in a moment, we're gonna give. And I believe that one day, there's gonna be people who thank God that you did. Listen, like I said, great churches aren't built on the talents of a few. No, great churches are built on the sacrifices of many. It takes all of us doing our part so that we can be the church that God has called us to be. Now, hopefully you've been thinking and praying and preparing to give here in this moment. That's why we told you about this last month, so you could begin to do that. Now, if you're not a follower of Jesus, or if you're new to the whole church thing, I want you to know a couple of things. Number one, I'm glad you're here. Like you're in a great place. And number two, this year-end offering stuff, it doesn't apply to you, all right? Just sit back and relax. No big deal. Don't feel any pressure at all. But if you are a follower of Jesus, then man, I want to invite you into something really special right now. Like we're all about to give or commit to give together. If you're struggling with thinking about like, well, how much should I give? Let me just encourage you with this. Just make sure that whatever you give is something that actually requires a sacrifice. I think it was King David who said, I will not offer to God that which costs me nothing. Just make sure that whatever you give, it's an actual sacrifice. For some, $20, $50, $100, that's a major sacrifice. For others, that's not. It's hundreds or thousands of dollars that would actually represent a real sacrifice. Just make sure that you give in a way that it actually costs you something. So here's what we're gonna do. It's gonna be super easy, quick, and safe. All you have to do is text the word give to the number on the screen, and then you'll get a link where you can give. Or if you're not prepared to give today, I would just ask you to do this. Just reply to that text and let us know what you plan to give between now and the end of the year. Listen, if you don't have a phone handy or you can't text right now, you can always give at epic.church/give and get that done there, all right? So you can always check that out. So we're gonna sing a song. It's a song about God's faithfulness. And as we do, I just wanna ask you to take a moment and think about how God has been faithful to you. Think about that. And then we're all gonna click that link together. We're all gonna give. And I'm telling you, there's gonna be people one day who will be so glad that you did. So come on, let's sing and let's give.
I love you, Lord, for your mercy never fails me, and all my days I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire in darkest night. You are close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God. And all my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, and I will sing of the goodness of God. Oh, and I will sing. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. It's your goodness is running after, it's running after me. It's your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. It's your goodness is running after, it's running after me. So my life you have been faithful. So my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, yes, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, yes, I will sing of the goodness of God. I will sing of the goodness of God.
Hey, I would like to take a moment to pray. Would you pray with me? Lord, thank you for your goodness, that it always runs after us and that you never, ever give up on me. I pray that we all would be able to experience your faithfulness and your goodness as we head into this Christmas season. Even with all the hustle and bustle going on around us, I pray that we'd be able to experience your peace. And recognizing that Christmas can be difficult for some, I pray that you would bring comfort to every heavy heart. God, we stand together and trust you no matter what we're walking through. We know that you are by our side. And I pray that this offering that we all get to be a part of, God, that you would use it to fuel the work that you're doing through our church and all around our city. We pray for every person, every family who's a part of it, that we would be filled with faith and trust as we give with sacrifice and confidence and generosity. We pray that our giving would allow us to impact many, many people and be a blessing and a support and a strong community for every person in the city. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. Well, hey, thanks for being a part of our year-end offering. You can give from here to any point to the end of the year. Just text give. And we're looking forward to seeing all that God will continue to do through our church and for our city.
For every person in the city. Well, I'm super excited to get to these gifts. We're going to do that right after the message. So let's go ahead and get to it.
Hey everybody, my name's Kent. I'm lead pastor here at Epic, and I'm so glad you're doing church with us today. We're actually kicking off a brand new series called White Elephant. Now, for those of you who don't know, White Elephant is the name of a popular gift exchange game that people play around Christmas time. Now, here's how it works. Everyone brings a wrapped gift to a party to be put in a big pile. Now, usually there's a dollar amount that everybody agreed upon beforehand, like $10, $20, something like that. And the gift can be useful or it could be a gag gift. Now, after the gifts are all put in a pile, we actually draw numbers to see who gets to pick from the pile and open a gift first. And so after the first person goes, the second person now has a choice. Like they can pick another gift from the pile and open it, or, and this is where things get a little interesting, they can steal one of the gifts that's already been opened. Now from there's like a million different variations of how the game can be played and what actually happens next. Now, over the years, as I've played this game, I've actually gotten some really great gifts. I've gotten gift cards, I've gotten movie packs, I've gotten a Yeti mug. My favorite gift I ever got was actually a 12-pack of toilet paper, like the nice kind. And here's why. I was 20 years old at the time, and when you live with a bunch of roommates like I did, man, that stuff is like gold, seriously. Anyways, not only that, but I've actually gotten some not so great gifts as well. Like the time I ended up with a toilet seat. Like just a toilet seat. No use for it, but that's what I ended up with. Or the time that I ended up with a goldfish, like a for real swimming around in the water goldfish. Listen, not cool. Like it's not okay to gift someone a responsibility. In fact, can we just put that on the screen? Not okay to give someone a responsibility. I feel like it makes it more official, and I feel better about myself now that I put that out into the universe, right? Maybe that would be a rule that will be adopted. Anyways, the goal of the game is to trade something that you didn't want for something that's better. And that's what this series is about. Over the next 3 weeks, we're gonna talk about some of the gifts of Christmas. Specifically, we're gonna talk about how to exchange worry for peace, sorrow for joy, and fear for faith. Today, I'm gonna kick us off by talking about anxiety. Anxiety is that feeling that you have now when there's some kind of uncertainty or fear about the future. Isn't that true? And there's a ton of research and information out there about anxiety right now, and that's because we as Americans are more anxious than we've ever been. In fact, here's some stats for you. Anxiety levels among Americans have increased year over year for the past 80 years. Like going back to the 40s, we've become more and more anxious every single year, which kind of makes sense, right? I mean, a couple world wars, Vietnam, 9/11, the financial collapse in 2008, racial tensions now, the civil rights movement, political divides, a pandemic, right? Like, come on, like we've been through some stuff. Boy bands was a thing for a while, like that, just thinking about Frosted Tips just gives me all kinds of anxiety. Here's another one. Anxiety disorders affect 1 in 5 Americans. And just to give you a little context, that's 40 million people. 1 in 5 Americans are affected by anxiety disorders. And then here's one more. The American Psychiatric Association reported that millennials and now Gen Zs are the most anxious generations ever, like of all time. So this is a problem, right? And it's not going away. It's not getting better. In fact, it's getting worse. And there's a lot of theories and thoughts about why that's the case. Most of them boil down to the fact that we're more informed now than we've ever been at any other time in history. Like we watch the news and we have instant access or a front row seat to heartache and pain, to suffering from all around the world. Like there's climate change and the potential of nuclear war. There's viruses and super viruses. There's economic inequality. There's true crime stories. There's natural disasters like floods and fires and hurricanes and earthquakes. And the list goes on and on. And then you flip the channel over to Animal Planet and oh my, right? There's this one show called Monsters Inside Me. Have you seen this thing? This is crazy, right? It's all about parasites that live in your body, like in you as the host. Listen, life was so much better before I even knew that was a thing. I'm telling you. Now, on top of that, there's information that's at our fingertips, right? It's all just one Google search away. In fact, have you ever Googled your symptoms? I'm talking about? Listen, I've self-diagnosed myself with just about everything you can have. I'm like, oh man, Tiff, I think I might be pregnant. It's like, well, that's what it says here. I'm just saying. So like all of this stuff is at our fingertips. And then there's the impact of social media. Studies show that people who frequent social media have lower self-esteem and significantly higher levels of anxiety and depression. Why is that? I think it's because of the comparison game. Like we constantly compare our lives to everyone else's highlight reel. It's like, man, what'd they do this weekend? Oh, they went to Dubai? Like Dubai. Like what'd you do? You went to IKEA, right? And you thought that was exotic. It's like, oh man, it's a big day. We're going to IKEA, right? And if it's not that, then it's all these curated, photoshopped images that we're bombarded by all the time. And all that does is remind you that you are not photoshopped. You're not. And all of a sudden, there's young girls who start thinking stupid things like, oh man, I gotta get my butt fixed so I can look like Kim K. Listen, your butt is not broken. It's your self-esteem that's broken. It's your sense of self-worth that's broken. But it's all these constant comparisons to everyone and everything that leave us wanting, that leave us disappointed. Many of us, we grew up being told that we could achieve anything if we just tried hard enough. And so we did. Like we tried really hard, and then we found out that there's only one president of the United States, and we're not it. Or we tried really hard and found out that in addition to trying hard, you actually have to have some natural ability and genetic gifting in order to be the greatest basketball player of all time. And there's only one of those, right? It's LeBron or Jordan, depending on when you were born, right? And I know I'm being a little dramatic with all of that, but the truth is that every single one of us has looked in the mirror and faced the disappointment of not being far along as we thought we would be at this point. And culturally, our definition of success has become more and more about money, stuff, and status than it is about family, community, and finding purpose for your life. I mean, that alone is a recipe for anxiety because it leaves us at this place where we're staring down this chasm that we can't cross. Like there's this gap between where we are and where we hoped we would be by now. And there's all these unrealistic expectations that leave us to a place where we're like, man, how am I ever gonna get there? I mean, no wonder we're so anxious about everything. And then there's geography. I mean, the truth is that people live further away from home and family than they ever have before. People are more transient than they've ever been before. And because of that, people have less community and less of a sense of belonging than ever before. Most men have zero significant or meaningful relationships outside of their girlfriend or their spouse. Zero. And studies show that people who don't have strong relational connections are 3 times more likely to die than those who do. See, this is why I believe that it's healthier to eat ice cream with friends than it is to eat broccoli alone, right? Come on, like, this is science, people. You gotta believe that. I stand by that statement. And so there's all kinds of reasons why we're more anxious than ever before. And truth is that all of us, in some way, struggle or have wrestled with anxiety. Now, I'm not an overly anxious kind of person, not because I don't have anything to be anxious about, but because I've actually mastered the art of just not thinking about it. Like anybody else work to develop that skill over time? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. The problem is I'm surrounded by people who love me and who feel like it's their job to remind me of all the things that I have to worry about. And then afterwards they're like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, not anymore. Like, not since you got here. I was good. I was fine. And then you showed up and now I can't breathe. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Now, anxiety is sneaky. It kind of runs in the background of your life like some kind of computer virus that you didn't know that you had. And all of a sudden, everything starts slowing down. Your battery drains faster, things don't load as quickly, and slowly but surely, it robs you of your ability to run at full strength. That's what anxiety does. And someone said it this way, they said, anxiety is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere. Isn't that true? Like there's all kinds of energy being spent, but you're not getting anywhere. It harms you and it helps no one. Man, I don't want that for you. I don't want that for any of us. And so here's the question I want to spend the rest of our time answering this morning. What do we do? Like, what do we do when anxiety crashes the party and we're overwhelmed and overcome? What do we do? Well, Dr. Marla Diebler from the Center of Emotional Health of Greater Philadelphia gives a bunch of tips in her article that she wrote a couple years ago. Here's what she said. She says, First, you've got to know that anxiety is normal. Like, it's our body's natural response to stress. 2, acknowledge that it's there. Like, instead of using my preferred method of just not thinking about it, no, like don't ignore it. Just acknowledge that it's there. Number 3, she actually encourages people to do things that may cause you to be anxious. And here's the reason why. It's because if you'll do that, then over time you'll prove to yourself that you can actually succeed in spite of your feelings of anxiety. Number 4, she says, remind yourself that your thoughts are not always objective or true. Oh man, listen, like so much of this battle is fought in our mind. Isn't that true? Like sometimes our thoughts, they just aren't helpful. And you have the power to decide whether or not your thoughts are worth more of your attention than they're getting at the moment. Number 5, practice self-care. Eat, sleep, exercise. Number 6, stay connected. Like don't isolate yourself. Move toward community, not away from it. Number 7, take a break. Sometimes I know this is true for me. Sometimes just a change of pace and a change of place brings a change of perspective. And then number 8, she says, relax. Like do some breathing exercises. Do something that calms you down. Get a massage. Relax. That can help. In the same article, she says that if your anxiety gets so bad that it begins to impact your ability to function, that's when you need to go get help from a medical professional. And what's sad about that is that 75% of the people who suffer from anxiety never get the proper care and treatment and support that they need. And the number one reason why is because they're embarrassed or they're worried that they're going to be judged or criticized by their friends or their family. Listen, neither of those is a good reason for you not to get the help that you need. So make sure that you get help. Now listen, those are all good things. Like you should do all those things. But I want to show you something from the scriptures that I think is a game changer when it comes to dealing with anxiety. See, I don't believe that all you can do is learn some tips and tricks about how to manage your anxiety a little better. See, I believe that with God's help, we can have a shift in perspective that will actually help us exchange anxiety and worry for a gift of peace. So here we go, 1 Peter chapter 5. Peter talks about how to overcome anxiety, and he starts off with some interesting advice. Here's what he says. He says, all of you, clothe yourselves with humility toward one another. He's like, hey, you want to know how to overcome anxiety? Here's where you start. Put on humility. Like literally, he says, wear it like a coat. And then he goes on to tell us why. He says, because God opposes the proud, but shows favor to the humble. Peter says, hey, like this is really important for you to know. Like all of you, you're going to be given the opportunity to live your life from a place of pride or live your life from a place of humility. And it's completely your choice. But you should know that God actually has a preference. He feels strongly about this one. In fact, he opposes the proud, or he sets himself up against a person who chooses to live their life from a place of pride. And he will actually show favor to or get behind and support the person who chooses humility. Peter says, hey, you just need to know that. Now, if you're like me, you might be wondering, well, what's that got to do with overcoming anxiety? Well, think about it. Like, what's the difference between living your life from a place of pride and living your life from a place of humility? Here it is. Pride says, I got this. Like, I don't need anyone else's help. I don't need anyone else's advice. My challenges are my own, good or bad. Like, I'm responsible for my own future. I got this. Concerning my career, I got this. Concerning my romantic relationships, I got this. Concerning my money, I got this. Concerning my health, I got this. That's what pride says. I got this. Humility, on the other hand, humility says, I can't. Like, I recognize that though I can do some things to kind of steer my life in a certain direction, ultimately, I can't control what happens in the future. Like, I just can't control that. I can't control what happens in my career. My company could go belly up tomorrow, go bankrupt tomorrow. I can't control that. I can't control romance in my life. I can't make her or him love me. I can't control whether or not they cheat or walk out on me. Money, like I can't control the economy. I can't control whether or not nations go to war or not and how that affects things. My health, like I can't control whether or not I get some disease. Humility says, God, I recognize that ultimately there's just so much about this life that I can't control. Pride says, I got this. Humility says, I can't. In fact, I know that I can't. And Peter would lean in, and I think he'd say, and that's the key, knowing that you can't. Because the moment that you know that you can't is the moment that you begin to recognize your need for someone who can. And look how Peter says it, 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 6. He says, humble yourselves, therefore, under God's mighty hand, that he may lift you up. And I love this because it's like he's saying, look, I know you can't, you know you can't, God knows that you can't, but his hands are mighty, and he's the one who can. And if you'll lean into that, then he'll lift you up. And then there's this little part at the very end of this verse that's a little bothersome. Here's what it says. He'll lift you up in due time. Like in due time. Now, this is actually the hard part of this verse. And so often, our idea of due time is completely different than God's idea of due time. Like our idea of due time is always like right now, right? And we treat Jesus like he's some kind of a genie. Like, why don't you just grant my wish and do it right now? But listen, we shouldn't be trusted to be the ones to determine when due time should be. I mean, come on, we're the same people who burn our mouths on Hot Pockets, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, listen, the concept or the idea of a Hot Pocket is that that's the closest thing to an instant meal that you can have. All you have to do is wait a few seconds for that thing to cool off, and we still can't wait even that long. And so it's no wonder we say things like, I prayed and then nothing happened. It's like, really? Like nothing happened since yesterday or last week or last month? Listen, due time may not be right after church. Due time might not be right after you prayed. Due time might not be next week, next month, next year. In fact, due time may end up being a long time. But here's what I know. When I read this verse, I'm reminded all over again that with every anxious thought, with every uncertainty I face, I have a decision to make. Am I going to trust this to my hands, or am I going to trust it to mighty hands? Am I going to trust this to my hands or mighty hands? It's one or the other. My hands or mighty hands. Come on. My career, my hands or mighty hands. My marriage, my hands or mighty hands. My finances, my hands or mighty hands. My kids and their future, my hands or mighty hands. Listen, that's why being a follower of Jesus and being a person of faith is so great. It's such a better option because it gives you something better to do than just try and do it alone with just your hands. No, we get to see what happens when God, whose hands are mighty, gets involved. And then in verse 7, Peter says this. He says, just in case I've not been clear, here's what I want you to do with your struggle and with your anxiety. Here's what you can do. Verse 7, cast all your anxiety on him. Why? Because he cares for you. He says, listen, there's a God in heaven who knows your name. He knows everything there is to know about you. He knows every fear you've ever had. He knows every anxious thought that keeps you up at night. He knows what you're struggling with. But you can put that into his hands. Why? Because he cares for you. Like because he cares for you, he invites you to take all that worry and all your doubts and all your concerns about the future and all the uncertainty and cast it or place it on him to carry. Peter here, he said, listen, you can cast it or you can carry it. The choice is yours. Gang, I think so much of the anxiety that we experience from day to day actually comes from carrying things that we were never meant to carry in the first place. And we spend so much time and energy worrying and thinking about problems that aren't ours to solve. No, they're God's, because we've put them in his hands. And I just want you to know that there's so much freedom in living from a place like that. I know I've said it 1,000 times, but it's one of my favorite quotes. God takes full responsibility for a life that's wholly or completely devoted to him. God says, hey, devote your life to me completely, wholly, and I'll take responsibility for all of the outcomes. See, if the things I'm anxious about are left to my hands, then the very best I'll ever be able to do is just manage my anxiety better than I have in the past. But if I can learn to trust his mighty hands, that changes everything. And so what do we do? Peter would say, know that you can't. and then trust the one who can. Know that you can't, and then trust the one who can. He says, hey, get it out of your hands and put it into his mighty hands. And some of you struggle with that because you're like, okay, well, the reason why I'm holding on to this so tightly is because it really matters to me. Like, I really care about this. Like, how do I know that God cares enough about me that I can trust him with it? And it's almost like you're waiting for God to prove that he cares for you before you'll put it in his hands. Listen, he proved that a long time ago. How? The cross. Like, he gave his life for you. You see, at the center of our faith isn't just something that Jesus said, but something that he did. He demonstrated his love for us by giving his life for us. And then he came back from the dead and demonstrated his power. So there's no doubt about it. You can trust him. You're thinking, okay, well, that's nice. But how do I really do that? And listen, if Peter's not good enough for you, then listen to what Paul said, because Paul's a little more practical. Here's what he says. And listen, this right here, this was worth tuning in and watching church today, all right? So Philippians chapter 4, verse 6, he says this, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, or in every anxious situation that you have, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. Paul says, here's what you do. In every anxious moment, turn it into a moment of prayer. Like you cast your anxiety on him by turning your moments of anxiety into moments of prayer. You say, well, I've been praying. Okay, well, you might need to pray again and just keep believing and trusting that God's at work. And in due time, he's going to lift you up. And he also says that you have to do this with thanksgiving. He says gratitude plays a role in this as well. And so in every anxious moment, take a moment to think about all you have to be thankful for. Here's an example. You might be like, oh man, I've got so much laundry. Well, stop and say, you know what, God, I'm thankful that I've got clothes to wear. I know that for me, one time I was sitting in my chair in the living room. I looked over at our glass door leading to our backyard, and there's all these fingerprints, like all over the glass, and we just cleaned it. And I was like, oh, these kids. And then I just kind of had this moment where I felt a little convicted, and I was like, oh man, I'm so grateful that I've got kids, even with their fingerprints, leaving those things all over the glass, right? And I was like, God, I just want to thank you that you've given me the gift of time with my children while they're small, fingerprints and all. Listen, there's just something about doing that kind of snaps us out of the moment and brings some perspective. Like rehearsing all that we have to be thankful for. It takes the focus off of what may or may not happen in the future, and it snaps us right back to this moment, to the here and now, and reminds us that God has been faithful in the past. There's something about knowing that gives us confidence that he can be trusted with the future as well. And then here's the promise, verse 7. Here's what Paul says. He says, and the peace of God that transcends all understanding will guard your hearts and your mind in Christ Jesus. He says, and then that anxious moment, it'll be overtaken by peace. And it's just not just any old peace. No, it's the kind of peace that can't be understood. In other words, other people are going to look at your situation and say, man, you should be worried. But you won't be. You won't have to be. Why? Because all that anxiety, you've traded it away. You've traded it away. You've exchanged it for the peace of God that Paul says will guard your heart and your mind. See, I'm not saying that if you'll take your moment of anxiety and you'll turn them into moments of prayer and moments of gratitude, that all of a sudden you'll leave and your circumstances will change. What I'm saying is that if you'll do that, then somehow God will use it and you'll change because you took your anxiety and you placed it in mighty hands. So what do? I think we have to ask ourselves, am I going to keep this in my hands or place it in mighty hands? You can cast it or you can carry it. The choice is yours. Peter says to cast it. And then Paul comes along and he says, turn every moment of anxiety into a moment of prayer and into a moment of gratitude. And that's how you exchange worry and anxiety and begin to know and experience the gift of peace. Come on, let me pray for you. God, we love you. We thank you so much that you first loved us. And Lord, I pray you give us the wisdom to know what to do with what we've heard today and the courage to do it. God, I pray you'd help us to be people who cast our cares on you and experience your peace. In Jesus' name, amen. I love you guys. See you next week.
Thanks, Kent, for such an encouraging message. You know, we all struggle with anxiety, and it's so important that we learn how to make sure that it doesn't overtake us. And that phrase that Kent said, you know, am I going to trust my hands or mighty hands?
Yeah.
So good.
It's a challenging question.
Really challenging.
As Ken said, so much of the anxiety that we experience comes from us carrying things that we were never really meant to carry in the first place.
Yeah, for sure. Well, our prayer for you this holiday season is that God's peace will continue to guard your hearts and your minds all season long.
Yeah. And Emily, is it finally time for us to play?
It is time
It's
for
time
White
for
Elephant.
White Elephant. And so we're going to play the game as Kent said.
Okay.
The rules are pretty simple. You pick
are.
a gift, you open it, and then you have the opportunity to exchange it if you'd like. And so, ladies first.
No.
Emily,
No.
pick a gift.
No, I get the choice, and you're going to actually go first because I want to be able to see what options are out there.
Okay, that's fine with me. All right, so I'm gonna pick a gift.
Okay.
Gotta get my gift radar going on. I'll go with the ones that are close to me. And strategic decision, take notes. I'm gonna go with a small gift because good things come in small packages.
Okay.
You're probably trying to trick me. So
We'll see.
Here we go. Ready? Here we go. Let's see what's in this thing.
I'm nervous.
Very nicely wrapped.
Yes, they are.
Good. Okay. Got
Okay.
a box. Here it is. This probably means it's.
Can you get it?
Oh yeah!
What is it?
Fogo de Chao.
Oh, yay!
Date night for two coming up. Fogo.
I love
Yes.
Fogo, Justin.
No, you don't.
Yes,
Don't
yes,
play.
I do.
Don't play.
You know who else
Pick your
loves
gift.
it? My husband, Joel.
No, take a
Date night
gift.
for us.
No.
Here we go.
Oh.
I'm taking it. That's the game, guys.
how-
That's the game.
Come on, white elephant. Really? All right.
Yeah.
So now what? I get to pick.
Yeah, you
I
have
get
to
one?
pick something else.
I'm gonna
Maybe
go
something
with-
better.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with a bigger box this time because maybe bigger will be better. So here we go. Opening this.
Oh
Opening
my
this
God.
guy.
Did you see all that
Man.
glitter go everywhere?
So much glitter. All right, here we go. This is looking promising. What is this?
Uh-oh.
Oh, are you kidding me? No, I know.
Yeah, I know
Is
that
it
bag.
really? It is Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
Listen, I went from Fogo to Taco. Come on now.
Hey, wait. Oh, you forgot this too. You should probably have some Tums to go with your taco.
Oh, great.
You're gonna need them, Justin.
Great.
So
There's nothing else in
look,
here?
2 gifts. You got 2 gifts in one.
There's nothing else in here. It's
No,
really Taco Bell.
It is all Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
Yeah.
Listen,
Hey.
I'll be okay with Taco Bell. I'll do Taco Bell. It's
But
all right.
you gotta stay away. There's something on the menu. I think it's called like the cheesy nacho taco libre
What? No, nah.
supreme. I heard it's bad news. So just don't do it.
Anytime you need a name that long to describe your product, you're compensating for something.
Yes,
so
you definitely
it's
are.
all right. They're open late, so I'll check it out.
They
Taco
definitely
Bell.
are.
There you go. Well, next week we're going to continue our game, and hopefully I get a chance to redeem myself. Some white elephant redemption going on, and we can find out which gift you get. Or we're going to pick someone that texted in to check in. So if you haven't already, make sure you do that.
Yeah, definitely make sure that you do that. And we are super excited. You might not be, but we're super excited to continue this series. We get to continue to celebrate the Christmas season all month long.
For now, see you later. Merry Christmas.
See you guys.
We'll be back. Taco Bell, really?
I know. What can I say?
no.
It'll be good, right?
And
Sure.
Tums?
Well, hey, thanks again for doing church with us today. If you're new, we're glad you're here. I want you to know we do church just like this online every single week, and we'd love for you to be a part. If you're local, we have large in-person gatherings once a month called Epic Live. It's a full-on celebration. So check out our website for a location that's nearest you. And listen, we'd really love to meet you. So I want to personally invite you to something called the Welcome Party. It's an opportunity for us to connect, hear some of your story, and share some of ours. So text the word HERE to the number on the screen. We'll get you all hooked up. Listen, I really do believe that God has an incredible plan for your life. And we just want to do our part to help you discover what that is. So thanks again for hanging out with us. We'll see you again next week.